Good morning, live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 58. This is Roy Kessel along with Kayla Bradham for Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're very excited to have with us today special guests Nate Boyer and AJ Perez with Merging Vets and Players. So, Nate, AJ, welcome to the show.
Okay, first of all, shout out to
Good to be
all of
here.
our Wisconsin Green Bay Packer fans, AJ. There you go. That's the way to kick off the show. Nate, you can tag along.
Yeah, well, AJ, take us back to Niners Packers playoff game. How painful!
I don't
that
really
was,
want to talk about that. I mean, the '90s was cool, but not right now. In recent times,
It was cool, also for the Niners.
at some points.
Yeah, no, I grew up in the Bay. I'm a big Niner fan, so that was yeah. It's. I'm excited they're here. I'm excited for the rematch. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I just can't do the bang bang Niner gang thing. I'm sorry, Nate. Just not. The cheese head is too big. Guys, thank you for being here. Merging Vets and Players. Deep work. I know we have a short amount of time. Tell us why you're here, what you're doing, what the problem was, and how you found the solution.
Yeah, we at MVP we bring together combat vets and former pro athletes, and we help them find purpose and identity when they lose a uniform. You know, like AJ and I was in the Army, AJ was in the Navy. I had an opportunity to play football after that, so spent time in that locker room as well. And but you know, in the military, AJ can speak to this too. Like most people are sports fans, and athletes are heroes. A lot of us, growing up, it was popular. It was just something that we looked up to these people and aspired to be them. And of course, by and large, people respect those that wear the camouflage. Those in the military uniforms too. So it's just bringing those groups together, people that kind of get you in a different way. Both those groups, the career ends very young. You're probably in your 20s or 30s, and you feel like you'll never be great again, and you got to find that team again. So that's why we really started this, and I co-founded it with Jay Glazer back in 2015, and by 2016, AJ was helping build the program, build out what we're doing. So not just AJ, it's a big team, a lot of people, but AJ's been with us for 8 years now, which is crazy. And so now we're in 8 chapters also around the country. We've got a chapter here in Vegas, which is doing quite well, pretty awesome. And we started in LA, Vegas, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Seattle, Dallas, and Phoenix. And soon,
So how
soon to open
how
more.
many chapters areas do you have right now total?
We have eight chapters, 8 chapters around the country. Yeah, so we're growing. We'll meet up weekly in the gym. It'll be vets and athletes together. We'll train together, and then we huddle up, and it's just a place for us to chat, share our experiences, peer-to-peer coaching, and really just be there for one another, recreate that community in that locker room.
And let me ask you a question, Nate. When did you realize that was the problem that needed to get solved?
I mean, I felt it myself, like leaving when I got cut from the Seahawks. I assumed it was coming, but I didn't know exactly when. It's all of a sudden it's over, and I'd gotten out of the military earlier that year. So leaving the military and leaving sports around the same time, and having that jersey and that camouflage that it was a big part of me, and the structure involved with all that. Now you're kind of floundering, and the cool part is you could do whatever you want, and the scary part is you could do whatever you want because you know what I mean. And so it was like, Jay really came to me with the idea. Jay was like, we got to do something because obviously the veteran suicide problem is a real problem. It's an epidemic. And then also a lot of these athletes are really struggling with depression and, feeling that loss of importance and like, I'll never be great again. I mean, people feel that generally, but we thought if we could focus on these groups who are natural, leaders or have become leaders anyway, we can maybe help change the narrative and make the world a better place, like little by little. That's really what our focus is.
So guys, I think most people now are aware of QPR, question, persuade, refer. For regular people like me, mom in Milwaukee, what advice would you give to families and friends of vets who might be struggling other than QPR?
That's a good question. Honestly, just being open to have open conversations. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask some questions. And if yeah, that's a. I went through it with my family. That's why I'm trying to like think back. Like just having an open conversation. I had a raw conversation with my mother about what it was like, what the experience was like, and just how lost I felt. And I was very vulnerable with her. And coming from a background of where get up, get work, do your stuff, like just churn and burn. Um, I was able to finally sit down and just kind of explain to her what the course was like, and we found a lot of commonalities. Just she was a migrant farm worker, so single mother for a while, so she just understood a lot of the struggles and whatnot. So and sometimes just being open to just hearing out, you might connect in more ways that you think. That would be probably my biggest advice. Just
I've got to meet Marta several times. His mom, she's pretty
I'm gonna
awesome.
go find your mom, and we're gonna go out and get coffee together.
She's still in Green Bay.
yeah, she's an Appleton, so yeah,
I'm not joking. I'm finding her. We're drinking coffee. We're gonna talk
well,
about you and your hooligan
yeah,
friend.
and the most so typical. She works at a cheese factory.
I
Like, where
love
did your
it.
mom in Wisconsin? She works at a cheese
Perfect.
factory.
Perfect for us
Yeah.
cheeseheads. I know. One of the things, Nate, you both talk about what happens with MVP, right? And you think about how the world is. There can't be places that are more structured than the football field or the military in terms of everything's got to
Yeah.
be precise, everything's got to be timed. That's a big adjustment we see a lot of the athletes and veterans have as they come out. So talk a little bit about the ideas of how MVP addresses that with everyone.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's one of the things is like kind of trying to build that bridge because it's such an abrupt change, and there's like expectations, in the military and even in sports, and the way that we communicate with each other is very different too.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily always socially acceptable or the norm. People are kind of taken aback when if you come in hair on fire, expecting all this stuff and guns blazing in your conversations and the way you deal with people, you're not going to typically get a positive response in the same way that you may around the military or a sports team. Like the way the coaches talk with players is very different than the way that a boss talks to a subordinate. It's just different. And so like that's one of the biggest things. But also like we got a lot of praise. We get a lot of praise for our time spent in service and playing ball. But then when it's over, you're sort of forgotten, so you have to repurpose, and you have to understand that like it doesn't mean people don't appreciate you anymore. It's just like you're no longer sort of in that position, and now you're more in a support position, or you have to pivot and reinvent yourself and find another passion or something you can like pour that energy into. Um, because it's sad when you see like there is a level of sometimes of entitlement, and I'm not coming on here to like bash vets and athletes, but like it's there, and that causes a lot of issues because they're used to, you know, you're used to that support. You're used to people saying thank you for your service. And they're used to people saying like, oh man, you were such an awesome player, and I really, I loved watching you play. It's something that's all in like past tense. You know what I mean? So like that's a big challenge there. Just understanding like accepting that stuff, not taking things personal, but just finding ways to navigate and transition in. And it could be anything. Like that's the cool part. You can whatever you're passionate about, it could be something super weird and off the grid and doesn't make any connection to like, so being on a ship, and going overseas, like and fighting, pirates. Like it's something that, AJ was a part of. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have any connection with that. Same with me. Like being in the army and in special forces. Like what I'm doing now, I'm working in trying to make movies and tell stories. You wouldn't think that's related, but it is in some ways. Like the camaraderie and the way you have to work together, and like you find those ways to sort of transition that energy.
Guys, I just want to say I appreciate you so much. Thank you for working hard
Thank
to
you.
create hope and possibility. And I think that's what Merging Vets and Players does. On behalf of Sports Philanthropy Network, Roy and Kayla, Nate, AJ, thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for your service. And thank you for helping us build stronger, healthier, more inclusive communities.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, if
Thank
people have the
you.
opportunity, please go to
Thank you.
vetsandplayers.org and learn more about MVP.
Vetsandplayers.org. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.